For you, the listeners of My JavaScript Story, Loot Crate is offering an opportunity to save 10% on any new subscription at lootcrate.com. Just enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Loot Crate is one of my favorite things. Every month I get a box in the mail, costs less than $20, and it comes with all kinds of goodies. I have stuff from, just looking at my shelf, Batman, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and much, much more. So if you're a geek, a gamer, anything like that, and you want cool stuff to put around your office, cool t-shirts, comic books, etc., then definitely check out Loot Crate. To save 10% on your new subscription, go to lootcrate.com/Ruby. Again, that's lootcrate.com/Ruby to save 10% on any new subscription. Enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Hey everybody, and welcome to another My Angular Story. We're also going to post this on My JavaScript Story because Tara's been involved in some of the other JavaScript related stuff that we've done on devchat.tv.
I love JavaScript.
Yeah. So we're here with Tara Manicsic.
Yep.
You want to just give a brief introduction, and I'll try and find all the episodes you've been on?
Sure. So my name is Tara Manicsic, and I am a developer advocate for Progress. I have been on their Kendo UI team, which is a UI component library that supports Angular and React and Vue and jQuery and all that fun stuff. So I've also am a Google developer expert on the web technologies team because I love to talk about progressive web apps and service workers and just the web in general. I find very exciting and fascinating, which I hope you do too, because that's what mostly this show is about.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you were on, I'm trying to find the episode, but I can't seem to find those episodes. You were on React Roundup.
Yes.
As a panelist. You helped us start that show. Yeah, I was looking and I couldn't find the episodes that you've been on for Adventures in Angular or JavaScript Jabber, but I'm pretty sure you've been on both shows. So yes. I'll have to put those in the show notes.
The elusive episodes. Maybe it's like an Easter egg episode that you didn't even know you Easter egged.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, yeah, let's get in and talk about your experience as a developer. I think it's interesting, especially since you've kind of gone how do I put it, non-traditional route, because you've been a developer advocate and things like that. So mostly what I've interacted with you about is either your work as a developer advocate or at community things. Right?
Yeah, because I actually started out as a business school dropout, but I was a software engineer, and from there I was very active in the community. So basically I started out like in second grade. We had learned Logo. So we had, making squares with turtles. And because I was very fortunate to be in a math and science magnet school, because I loved math. Mm-hmm. And from there, I actually went to college for marketing because I was like, I really like math and, people. And it turns out that's not really what marketing is. But so I basically just took all my math classes and some ceramic classes and like classical guitar until they were like, you can't go here anymore. And I was like, okay. So I went ahead and just kind of did my thing. I joined AmeriCorps and helped like Katrina disaster relief. And
wow.
It was very, very eye-opening for someone from, a small town in Ohio, just to see that kind of devastation, but also see that as a human being, you can put energy and effort, even if you don't have any money, into helping people, and you can actually make a change. And so that was really, I had done a lot of community service work in school, but that was really eye-opening to me to see just like how communities can come together. So in that instance, it's like, a neighborhood community or a community of helpers coming to help a neighborhood. But again, it was like that action to take, to give your time, to like be with people, to help and give your energy towards helping build up a community. So, different context. But I actually followed my boyfriend he was getting his master's in architecture in Massachusetts. And I followed him, but it's okay. He wanted me to follow him So it's okay. That was 10 years ago. So we're married. We're still going strong. So
Still your boyfriend. Nice.
yeah, exactly. And so I actually started working there doing admin jobs and found my way because I bluffed in a interview. They asked me to do crystal reports at Harvard Law School.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, yeah, I do that. Sure. So they were like, okay, you'll start next week. So I took that weekend to figure out what the heck crystal reports were. And thankfully it was just a database system. And I hadn't worked with computers besides, the regular, Word and Excel and messing around with HTML. But I got into that, and then from that led to actually working at an atmospheric research group at Harvard, doing admin, normal daily activities, like helping my professor who helped discover the hole in the ozone layer write a textbook, and, buying $1 million lasers. So just normal stuff. But we were able to take tuition assistance. There was a tuition assistance program for Harvard Extension School. And basically that was especially with the CS courses, it was mostly all the Harvard CS teachers, as well as there was one led by some MIT professors called Physical and Screen-Based Computing, where you were able to work with it's called processing, which is a language that came out of MIT. And at the time it was just Java-based. And then work with electronics. And my mom was an electronics teacher at the community college, so I grew up around breadboards. So I wanted to do this more. And that's basically how I got back into CS, as I took this course. And then I was like, oh, Java, I'm going to learn more of this so I can make more cool things. And then I took CS 101 and then data structures, and then just kept going until it turned out I had a degree. And that's how I got a degree from Harvard Extension School.
Nice.
Yeah, from lying about crystal reports.
Way to go.
I know. It's kind of ridiculous. But because of that, I was a non-traditional student. So I had special student status, which because of my grades that allowed me to take regular courses. But that meant that everybody I was taking courses with was 18 to 20 years old, much younger than me. And so I found Women Who Code there in Boston, and was able to use that group as an anchor to the tech community. And I really appreciated what they did. So I moved to Cincinnati and got my first job actually as a Node software engineer, and realized that Women Who Code didn't exist here in Cincinnati. So I created it. And that's how I started in the community. Whew, that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? It's a lot of people. It's like, oh, well, somebody told me I should go into software. And so I, right. So I started to teach myself, and, their story is, somewhat common that way. But you know what, I kind of fibbed a little bit about my experience with crystal reports. And then, you kind of wound up working your way along this path to wind up where you are. And I'm curious too, while you were in Boston, you found Women Who Code. So how did that pull you along in your journey? Because it kind of sounds like it was just a community that supported you, or was there more to it than that got you to the point where you were actually out there, looking for a job doing Node or something like that?
So one of the first workshops that I did at Women Who Code was actually Open Hatch, which is, I believe it still exists. It's basically a group that introduces people to contributing to open source software. And I felt really lucky that I found that, because it got me to a point where I was familiar with open source software before I think many people were. Or I mean, in your career, so many times I know with people who come through Women Who Code, if they came through a boot camp, most of the time they understand what open source software is and understand Git and whatnot. But I'm coming from a traditional background where the only, when I was going to school, they were still teaching Flash. So there wasn't much that people weren't really using Git. unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gave me an opportunity to get involved in open source very quickly and understand that there were ways I can contribute beyond just, making a brand new software, because I was, my whole goal when I went to school was like, I should probably make a JavaScript framework. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking.
The world needs a few more of those.
Yeah. I was like, what we could use right now.
And then you can create a new testing framework to go with it.
Exactly. Just name it something that no one can pronounce. But yeah, so that helped a lot. But I think one of the biggest things that I know a lot of really great women who code, organizers, and we focus on this a decent amount, where just the fact of having that support in the community, or like knowing where you can find that support I like to reach out, especially to women in my area who are doing online courses or self-teaching. Mm-hmm. And then like myself, I was, doing classes where there would be study groups, but it was study groups for a specific class, and not, since I was, a different student status, I wasn't part of those study groups. So like actually having that kind of support from people in the area where, because otherwise I'd be in my room banging my head until 2 a.m. because of some error that I have no idea what's going on. And even at the very least, for someone to be like, yeah, I've been coding for 4 years, I still bang my head against the wall till 2 a.m. It's like, oh, thank goodness I'm not a total dum-dum. But I actually found when I moved back here to Cincinnati, I really liked JavaScript. So I knew I wanted to do a career in Node, and I kept seeing jobs for Ruby on Rails. Mm-hmm. And so I was very torn, because I was like, yeah, I could do this. I have made projects with this, but I found a Node meetup, and it happened to be talking about Tessel, which is an open source microcontroller. So, and I love electronics. Like I actually had the electric engineers at the Atmospheric Research Group. They trained me in how to be NASA certified solderer. So wow. It's so much fun. So I love soldering and I love electronics. And so I went to this meetup just excited that someone in Cincinnati was talking about Node, let alone Node and electronics. And I've actually met my manager, Matt Hernandez, who's actually now at Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And we hit it off because I guessed correctly the 40 that was in his brown bag. And I got the reference to Pragmatic Programmer because he had it on his business card that he was like a software craftsman. And I was like, I need to know these people. And I ended up working, it was a platform as a service for Node, and eventually more later called Modulus. But it was like finding your people. It's like, oh yeah, meetup community helps me find my people. It's very exciting.
Awesome. We've actually had Matt Hernandez on JavaScript Jabber.
Oh, lucky you. He's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was a fun conversation. It was just, I met him back in April.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he was at NGConf this year. So it was great too. NGConf is one of my favorite conference, especially for community. I mean, if you want to get to know the Angular community and actually have fun with them as well, I think that's by far my favorite conference.
Yeah, it's probably mine as well. And what's really funny is it has a whole lot less to do with the fact that it's an Angular conference than just the way that they've put everything together. Kind of creates an atmosphere of, just fun, and gives you lots of things to do that aren't code. Yeah. And the other end of that is that I feel like they've set it up so that there's a lot of serendipity, right? It's really easy to run into people.
Totally.
And that creates a lot of opportunities to get to know people, to connect with them, and then to stay connected with them after the conference.
Yeah. And I think what's really great is they have such amazing speakers on stage that are so have such great insight to the technical parts. that it goes hand in hand with like that. It's like, okay, now let's give your brain a break and eat some donuts off the donut wall. Like, and that was my, so that was actually my introduction to the Angular community in person. And also one of my first really big conferences that I went to. And I have to tell you, I was so disappointed by every other conference after that. It was like, you call this food?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They go all out.
It's pretty amazing. They have a great team.
So I kind of want to roll back into your journey a little bit and talk a little bit about Node. So you mentioned a lot of the jobs that you were seeing were Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I came into programming. I still do a lot of Rails just on my own stuff. But what was it about Node that got you excited or got your attention, made you want to do that instead of Rails or something else?
It was actually JavaScript. So like I started in Java. I didn't mind Java, but I hated Eclipse. I wanted Eclipse to die.
That's easy to do. I mean, it's a great IDE, and I'm sure it works nicely for some people.
Yes, some people will. I have to tell you though, I hadn't touched it for like 5 years, and I go to hang out with my nephew, who is like seven going on 8 at the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm working on my Minecraft mods," and I was like, "Okay, do you need any help?" And he opens up Eclipse, and I was like, "No." And it was so funny because I saw the screen and it was so hard not to just like swat it away. But yes, some people may like Eclipse, and good for you. But so I didn't mind Java, but it felt like having to do so much in order to get the reward of seeing something on the screen, you know, like typing out so much and whatnot. So when I was introduced to JavaScript, I saw the good parts of JavaScript, like the book, before, like very early on. So I think I was quite lucky. And I felt, I don't know, it seems so like when it's right, it's right.
Right.
That sounds so ridiculous when talking about a programming language. But when your whole job is writing in this language, you want one that feels right. You want one that just makes sense. And the ecosystem around it, you know, felt really solid. And so knowing that I could take JavaScript and use it on the front end and use it on the back end and kind of have the point where I could kind of have a fluid or a solid foundation in one language felt really, really good to me. And it felt like the most, you know, concise way to do something is by just focusing. Like I love to try and learn the fundamentals and try to have a solid base. And if I could have that solid base work for me, but on, you know, full stack, I didn't see why I would want to go anywhere else. So I'm extremely biased.
No, it makes sense. I mean, I've heard people talk about all kinds of different languages that way, right? Where it was just, you know, I started working in it and it just felt like this is the way programming is supposed to be. Yeah.
And it definitely felt like I could start coding something out and not think about, you know, you stop thinking about the language that you're coding in because you start thinking in that language. And so, you know, I worked with PHP for a bit as well. And that I don't want to hate on PHP because I spent a lot of time doing that. And then I realized the way that I feel about JavaScript, somebody feels about PHP. Right. I did not feel that way about PHP. So finding JavaScript was very exciting to me because it just made coding much more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So you get in, you start doing Node, you start a chapter of Women Who Code. How did that come together?
So it actually started with one event before I even knew that I could start Women Who Code. I had a meetup little thing called Detox and Debug, where we would go do yoga in the park and drink, you know, healthy juices while debugging our code. Mm-hmm. Not yoga and debugging. That would be very distracting. But one after the other. And somebody was like, you know, if you put this effort into, you know, just making an event, why don't you just do it for, women who code, so you have the backing? And I didn't realize that I could just start it, which I think kind of motivated me to do it. Like once I knew I could do it, I was like, okay, yes, let's do it. And it was a slow progression. Like with Women Who Code, you have to get set up. And I know more and more places are wanting to get set up. But then they give you support like through Meetup, and you have your Twitter handle and a Slack group and whatnot. But it's hard to get communities out in a place like Cincinnati where the communities here aren't always that big, and it's hard to gather them together, it's kind of it's interesting because we've been trying to go out of it at it so many different approaches. And I was actually on a panel at Node Summit last week about community it was put on, the moderator was Tierney Siren, and we had, I want to look up her last name, but Patricia on the panel. If you check it out, it's a really great panel. I'm not just tooting my own horn. Everybody else on the panel was like Brian Holt, Patricia, and Samantha. And I don't think I have Patricia Rollini, but you can definitely check out that panel. I know that the videos for that are coming out soon, but, Patricia made really good points about the fact that, maybe you just make your meetup every other month so that, you're not taking every week or every month away from somebody to bring them down there. And then Tracy Lee had made the suggestion about doing remote ones as well, where you screen it so if people can't leave the house or if people don't want to drive all the way down to downtown Cincinnati, they can make it as well. But it's still going. I have an amazing director now, Kat, and she just changed her last name, so I actually have to look that up as well. But it's basically Kat Fairbanks. It's a lot of work to kind of get workshops together, get people excited about it to come down, but it's all worth it. I mean, even if you just like each meetup, you help one person either feel stronger in their career or have more technical ability that they didn't have before, it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been my experience with a lot of the meetups that I've attended as well. It's hard to make a massive difference for a lot of people. And at the meetup, it's just the one person that comes and they're stuck on the one thing, and you just help them get past that. And it's like, oh yeah, I can get a job doing this, or, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought, or, whatever. There's somebody who struggled with this like I did.
Yeah, exactly. And, unfortunately, we do have women still, like the numbers come and go. But the thing is, there are women who don't feel supported in the tech community. And if we have any more resources out there to, help people understand, how to be a good ally, or help women in the field feel supported or find ways to get support, I think that's very important.
Yep, absolutely. I'm worried a little bit about time, so I'm going to move on. But I think this is really, really interesting just to talk about, local community, because I feel like that's really where people make a difference. You've also been involved in the wider community. You were one of the hosts at NGConf. You've been a developer advocate for Kendo UI. You've been on our, React podcast. What contributions are you most excited about as far as any of that goes in the wider community? So
one thing that I have been proud of is that I try to come up with more and more interesting topics. Like, what is the right word to describe this? And things that would just be fun to learn, during the talk, but give you that substantial information to take that technology or the software that I show you and use it where you need it. And one of the things that's been fun is I've been incorporating Tesla, which I talked about earlier, is the open source microcontroller. And that's actually an all volunteer crew that puts together the Tesla project. But it's been fun to hook that up with Angular. And recently I hooked it up with React to get sensor information and visualize the sensor information, or basically take that information and send push notifications I did it with plants so that when your plant needed watered based on the moisture sensor, it would send you a push notification that your plant was dying and you better save it. Because I have killed so many plants.
I was going to say, I may need one of those.
It's kind of ridiculous, but that, and then I was able to, so I was not familiar with what developer advocacy was, which you would think would be bad for wanting that job, but it ended up being kind of beneficial because one of the things I was like, well, can I take a camper up the West Coast and talk to people about Angular progressive web apps? And they were like, yeah, you can. So I actually hooked up some Philips Hue lights as a progressive web app with Angular. And I started the project down in Sacramento and built up the project till it was complete when I got to Seattle, and just went to different meetups and organizations like Waffle.js and Donut.js, and different GDGs, Google developer groups.
Right.
And it was amazing, not only to do so many talks, and that was like about a 2-month span, but also just like go out to these groups and meet the different developers in those areas. It was fantastic because you could also just chat about your code as you're working on a project. And that's really what a big basis of these developer groups are, is like bouncing these ideas off of people who understand what you're actually talking about.
Yep. Yeah. And it sounds amazing too, just getting a camper and just going for a couple months.
Oh yeah, I would like code all throughout the week and then go up into the mountains and just like hike all weekend, or like sit out in the middle of a forest while coding on some IoT. It's ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I have 5 kids, so it'd be a little bit different, I think, for me to be able to do it, but I love that idea.
I mean, I think they can lift logs. Should be fine.
Yeah, right. Well, the other thing is that, we could just go for, a month or something and, just rent or buy a trailer and just go.
Oh, I highly recommend it, especially where you are. It's beautiful over there.
Yeah. But I mean, like on the Pacific Coast, there are meetups probably all along there.
Exactly.
And so we could start in LA and then work our way up, and.
Exactly. Especially for the show, it'd be awesome to talk to a bunch of people that are in those areas.
Yeah. Well, and for let's say we have 3 days in the middle, right? So we go to LA, do a meetup, talk to a few folks, and then go to Disneyland for the 3-day break and then go up to the next place.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, Chuck. Thanks for the invite.
Go hit the beach over there. So anyway.
That is right up my alley. By far, my favoriteest things are roller coaster coding and my dog Toshi.
Awesome.
But yeah, so besides that, just being in the community in general has been really fantastic. Co-emceeing NGConf with Aaron Frost was so awesome because, like I said, the NGConf was like really my first introduction to meeting some of the people who I've been using their code for so many projects, like meeting them in person. So getting to be in the center of that and meet more and more developers, people in the community was just amazing. So yes, so never be afraid to come and say hi to me if you see me in public, because I may look really mean, but I swear I'm not.
I don't think you look really mean.
I know.
Maybe it's just because I know you, right?
Yeah. Yes, I may actually be smiling and laughing every time you probably see me. It's probably a rare occasion I'm not. I'm a happy person. I can't help it.
Yep. All right. Well, I do have another podcast in 15 minutes, so I'm going to kind of skip a little bit to the end. What are you working on now?
Right now, I am switching over to work for Kinvey at Progress, mobile backend as a service, and starting to work with their Node SDK, which is really interesting and fun to work with. But you will be hearing more about that from me soon. And very exciting, I am the co-chair for Angular at Connect Tech this year. So I'm doing a talk teaching people how to learn how to learn Angular, and basically good foundational steps to help people teach people how to learn Angular. And I'm just excited to go to Connect Tech and have a good time with everybody there. So fun stuff.
Sounds good. Well, do you have any picks for us? Anything you want to shout out about? Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
So the Connect Tech was one of my shout outs. If you haven't seen it, check it out. That's coming up in October. I also will be keynoting the DevFest Atlanta in September, talking about JavaScript everywhere. So talking about how we need to what steps we need to do to make the path much clearer and cleaner for developers to be able to use JavaScript front and back seamlessly. And then the last shout out that I think is very important for people to know about is Cedar Point in Sandusky, just the best amusement park in the world. I highly recommend checking it out.
I don't know if I've ever even heard of it, so.
You must go and ride the dragster. It's the best.
Okay.
Your kids will love it. You may have a headache afterwards, but your kids will love it.
Yeah. We have an amusement park here in Utah called Lagoon, and so funny. When I was a kid, I must have been like 8. We went with some of our neighbors, and they had a big roller coaster that did 2 loops.
Yeah.
And we somehow talked both of our moms into going on it. And yeah, my mom got off of it with a major headache, and my friend's mom got off and promptly went and found a garbage can and threw up.
Oh, no. I just got a new car. I got the electric car, the BMW electric car. It's an i3. I got it used, so I paid like half the price that people actually pay for this.
Right.
But it zips and it makes this noise like roller coasters, and I love it so much. And I'm like, oh man, is it just feeding my roller coaster addiction? I can't. There you go. But thank you very much for having me on, Chuck. That was fun.
Yeah, no problem. I have a few shout outs of my own that I'm going to do real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So I've mentioned this on some of the shows, and I just want to make sure that people are aware, because this episode will come out on my Angular story in the middle of August. And August, I'm doing a pre-sale for my How to Get a Job course and book.
Nice.
So if you are looking for a developer job, this is the thing that I get asked about the most. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do a video course. I'm going to do an ebook on it. I've been talking about doing it for a while, and I finally just, I'm like, look, I'm going to launch it by Labor Day, which is, if you're not in the US, that's the first Monday in September. So I have a month, and I'm putting that out. So
yay.
If you want the video course or the book, go to getacoderjob.com, or you can just go to devchat.tv and click on courses or products or whatever the link says. I can't remember. And you'll be able to get that. You'll be able to get it. And if you pre-order it I'm going to have some stuff in there right away that you can get started on because I want people to be able to buy it and start doing stuff. But yeah, as I release things and edit things and things like that, you'll get new versions of the product. So, go check it out, go pick it up. And it's 50% off for the pre-sale. So
Nice.
Yeah, don't miss out.
Who doesn't love a sale?
Yep. And I think My JavaScript Story, I think we're booked out past Labor Day. So if you heard this on My JavaScript Story, or I guess people, if you missed the pre-sale, watch for when this episode drops on My JavaScript Story, and then just use the coupon code My JavaScript Story, and you'll be able to get the 50% off. I haven't looked at the release date, so if the release date does work out that this comes out before the pre-launch, then no coupon code. But anyway, that's what I'm working on these days. And then I've been playing this game on my phone, and Eric Berry from Ruby Rogues got me hooked on it. And it's Golf Clash. So I've been playing a lot of golf on my phone. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying it. So
I hope it's more fun than real golf.
Real golf is a blast. I just got new golf clubs, and I'm going on Friday with my brother. So
I like driving. I mean, I like hitting it far, and I like driving a golf cart. But yeah.
You got to work on your short game, Tara.
I know. You think I'd be good at that? I'm only 5'1".
Yeah.
Every one of my games is a short game.
Just takes practice, a little bit of coaching.
All right, I guess I'll try again. I'll try the video game first, though.
There we go. All right. Well, one last thing. If people want to find you online, where are you?
Everywhere I am TZ, MANICS, TZ Manix on Twitter and GitHub. Yes.
All right, cool. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for listening. Have a great day, Chuck.
Yeah, you too.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.